Hi everyone, Nate Johnson here from flyplugins.com, and welcome to this WP Courseware tutorial video where we'll be discussing how to set up and place a blocking quiz within your WP Courseware course. This is the main menu for this video. As you can see, the chapters here are listed below. You can click on any one of these chapters to advance to that point in the video if you need to access specific content within the video. And from that point, you can always return to this menu and come back if you need to access other parts of the video. So let's go ahead and get started. Now you may be asking what a blocking quiz is. You're going to need to use this if you require that your students achieve a minimum pass mark before they can move on to subsequent content within your course. So you're going to require a passing score. You'll be able to set that, and they won't be able to move forward until they achieve that passing score. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we are going to go over to the Training Courses tab on the left-hand side of our WordPress admin menu. And we're just going to go to Add Quiz Survey. And you'll see that we're initially taken to a tabbed screen where we can create our quiz. First, we're presented with the General Settings tab. We have a quiz title, which is obviously required, so we'll just place one in there. Next is the quiz description. This is optional. It's not going to be displayed on the front end for your students. It will simply be displayed in the quiz summary listing within the admin side of your WordPress site, but we'll go ahead and pop one in there. And next, very importantly, we have the quiz type, which is also required. So we're going to want to select blocking. And I'm just going to go ahead and save my options at this point. Now you can see that once I have saved my options within the General Settings tab, we have several more tabs here to go through. So we're just going to walk through those one at a time. Next, we're going to go to the quiz behavior settings. Now, since we selected a blocking quiz, this is where you will set your minimum pass mark. So this is the grade that is required. Your students need to achieve this grade or better before they will be able to pass the quiz and progress to the next unit. So we'll just leave that set at 50% for now. As you can see, there is a drop-down box and you can select anywhere within that range. Next, we have the number of attempts that we want to allow. This allows you to basically set a maximum number of attempts. So if your student fails the quiz on attempt 1, let's say we select 3 attempts. If they fail the attempt, the first attempt, they'll get a second and then a third. After that, you'll need to either require that they retake it or let them move on. And I'll show you where that functionality is in just a bit. Next, we have whether or not we want to paginate our questions. And what this does is it either presents all questions in one long list when you place the quiz within a course unit, or you can use paging. We'll go ahead and select that. What this will do, as it states, there will be a frame within the quiz, and they can progress through navigate through the questions one at a time. So this would be useful if you don't want to overload your students with too many questions at once. You want them to see one at a time. You can select paging, and they can navigate through those questions. If we select paging, you'll see we have some sub options here. We have the ability to allow review before final submission. And what that means is once they navigate to the last question through the paginated questions in the quiz, once they answer the last question, they'll be presented with a review list. So a list of all of the questions that they can review before they submit. They're going to be listed out on the page all at once, and that is editable. And I'll show you that on the front end shortly. Next, we have the ability to allow students to answer later. So if you want to allow students to skip questions and come back to them, let's say we'll get into this in a second, but if it's a timed quiz and you want them to be able to skip it, come back to it, you can do that here. And I'll show you how that works. Next, we have the ability to allow navigation to previous questions or not. This is a case of whether or not you want them to be able to navigate backward through the quiz. So if you do select that, they'll have a previous question button and a next question button. If you deselect that, it will just be the next question. Finally, we have the ability to set a time limit for our quiz. So if you want to require that your students answer all of the questions within a quiz within a specific amount of time, you can select this and you can enter this value in minutes. So we'll go ahead and use that. What happens is if they do not answer all of the questions within the allowed amount of time, any questions they have answered will be submitted. Any questions they haven't answered will be submitted as well, and those will be scored as 0. So we'll go ahead and just save our quiz settings again. Next, we'll move on over to the results settings tab, also very important. We can choose whether or not we want to show answers. By default, that is selected. We can choose not to show answers, so they won't be able to see whether or not they've answered questions correctly or incorrectly. But in most cases, you're going to want to show answers, which brings up obviously 5 sub-options here. We can choose whether or not we want to show the correct answer upon quiz submission, answer submission. We can choose whether or not we want to show the user's answer to compare to the correct answer. We can choose whether or not we want to show the explanation for the correct answer, if there is one, and we'll go over that in a moment. That's something you enter when you actually create your question. We can select whether or not we want to mark the answers as correct or incorrect, and this is a green check mark for correct answers and a red X for incorrect answers. Finally, we can choose whether or not we want to leave the quiz results available for later viewing. This means that if you turn this on, they can return to the unit in which the quiz was placed and they can see their answers listed out on the screen. If you deselect that, they'll return to that unit and they won't be able to review their past quiz results or answers. Next, we have whether or not we want to show results by tag. And in WP Courseware version 3.0 and up, we have the ability to tag questions, whether that's a content area or a topical area within your course. You can add tags to questions, and you can choose whether or not you want results displayed by those question tags, and we'll go over that when we actually start creating questions. Finally, we have whether or not we want to show our completion time, and if this is a timed quiz, this option is going to pop up, and you can choose whether or not you want to display the amount of time it took your student to complete the quiz, and this will display on the front end. It will tell them how much time they took, as well as the maximum allotted time that they were given. So we'll save again. Next, we're going to move over to a really neat feature that's been included in WP Courseware version 3.0 and up, the custom feedback messages. And what this allows you to do is select a certain passing mark for a feedback message, and whether or not you want to provide positive or negative feedback, you can customize that and send it out automatically to your students. So let's take a look at it. We're going to go ahead and add a new feedback message. And this is going to bring up a meta box here, and I'll just fill this out and then explain what I've included within it. Okay, so we can provide each custom feedback message with a description, and this is just for your reference so that you can identify your custom feedback messages and what they're about, what their intention is. It doesn't display on the front end to your students. So in this example, we've simply placed above 50% for tag A. We're going to go down to the question tag. Now, what happens with these custom feedback messages is you can select a question tag, and again, within WP Courseware version 3.0 and up, you have the ability to tag questions based on content or topical areas. So you can provide a feedback message which is unique to that certain tag. So we're going to select tag A. Next, we go down and we can see that we're able to trigger this message either above a certain score for questions related to that tag, or at or below a certain score with questions related to that tag. So let's say you've got 10 questions related to tag A, and again, you're not going to use tag A, you're probably going to use something related to the content of your course, but you want to provide a positive reinforcement message to students who have answered 50% or above with on all questions with that certain question tag. Then you can select that here, above 50%. And then you can provide a custom feedback message, which is going to be displayed on the front end once their quiz is scored. You can also use at or below. Again, you can select a mark for that. Now, don't get confused. This has nothing to do with the pass or fail for your quiz. These are simply messages that are displayed on the front end if you're using question tags. So we'll go on down, and we've provided a custom feedback message. Great job on tag A. So if they score 50% or above for all questions which have been tagged with tag A, they're going to get a positive reinforcement message. I'm going to scroll down, and I've added another one that's 50% or below for tag B. So I've selected tag B, at or below 50%. And if a student scores at or below 50% for any questions within the quiz related to tag B, they're going to receive a message that says, it looks like you're struggling a bit with tag B. Please review the content in Unit 6. And again, you can include whatever you want in here, maybe links to resources where they could study further. So we'll go ahead and save these. Now we're going to head over to the Manage Questions tab at the top of our screen here. And this is where we actually create the quiz and we add questions. So over on the right-hand side of our screen here, we can see that we have 6 different question tools or methods of adding questions to our quiz. We can add a multiple choice question, a true-false question, open-ended, which is fill in the blank or text entry. We can require an assignment or file upload from students for a question. We can also add questions from our question pool. We'll go over that momentarily. And we now have the ability to add randomized question selections. So first, what I'm going to do is go through each of these question types and add them, and we'll walk through the various options. So first, I'm going to add a multiple choice question, and I'll quickly just fill this out and explain the various settings. So as you can see now, I've filled out my multiple choice question, which we just added. The first field up at the top is the question itself, and this is the question that's going to display in your quiz on the front end for your students. Next, we have the ability to add a question image. If we wanted an image to display below the question itself, a diagram or something like that, you could either input the URL to that image in the field here, or you could select an image, use the select image button. You could upload a file from your desktop or select an image from your WordPress media library and simply insert that. So we'll just close that for now. And the next option we have is the ability to randomize answers. So let's say you have 10 answers. You want a pool of 10 answers within this multiple choice question, and you want to display 5 of those randomly each time to sort of vary the presentation of the quiz as students take it. You could select the number of answers from that pool of 10 that you want to display. You could select to display 5 out of your 10 answers, and it will randomize a selection of 5 answers and display those on the front end. Of course, the correct answer that you select is always going to be selected and displayed on the front end. Next, we'll scroll down to the answers. We can see here that we have 3 answers currently. We have answer 1. We have, again, the ability to add an image below the answer or as the answer. We can select a correct answer, so we're just going to select answer 1 as the correct answer for this question. We have answer 2, again, a text entry field for the answer that the student can select. Of course, we could change the correct answer if we needed to. We have, again, the ability to add the image to the answer. We have a third answer here, answer 3. If we need to add additional answers, we can do that simply with the plus button over the side here. Of course, we can also subtract answers. Next, we have a hint. This is an optional field. You can enter text into this hint field, and this will display when the question is presented. So if you wanted to direct your students back to a specific course unit to look for the information to help answer this question, you could provide a hint here. We have the question explanation. This is going to display, it's also optional, this is going to display after the question is answered. And if you've chosen to show this in the results settings option options, which we looked over, this explanation will come up letting the student know why the correct answer is the correct answer. So this is a very useful field to be able to use for instruction. Finally, we have the ability to add question tags. So we could add a tag straight from within the question itself and add that to our question. So this will populate. You can also remove these tags. And again, this is going to be very helpful for both the question pool and question randomization, which we'll talk about shortly. Okay, so with our true-false question type, you can see we have the question itself, which is displayed to the students on the front end. Again, we have the ability to add an image if we need to. Pretty simple in terms of the correct answer. It's either true or false. Again, we have the ability to add a hint, which displays before quiz submission, and the ability to add an explanation, which again displays after quiz submission. And finally, the question tags, where I've added a simple tag B. Next, I've added an open-ended question within our question tools. And this is a sort of an essay-style question. It's basically text entry, and that's going to be delivered to you as the administrator on the back end, which you can review it and then score it. But we'll go through this. We can see that we have our question field again, the question image URL if we need to include an image for this question. Next, we have what size box that we want to use for our answer field. And this is sort of an indicator for you to give to your students on the amount of content that you expect for their response. So we can see we can select a single line of text, a small box, which is about 4 lines, a medium box, which is about 8 lines, and finally a large box, which is about 15 lines of text. And that's going to display on the front end similar to what you're seeing here. So next, again, we have the hint, the explanation, and finally we can add a question tag. Now I've added a file upload question to our quiz. And as you can see within the screen here, we have the question itself. Again, the image, if you need to add an image to the question. Next, we have the permitted file extensions. So any file extension that you place within this field will be accepted. If it's not in this field, the student will receive an error message stating that it's not the correct file type. So you don't need the dot. You just need the file extension itself. So for example, if you want a Microsoft Word document, you provide DOC, PDF, etc. Again, anything not in this list, the student will receive an error message. Finally, again, the hint, the explanation, and the question tag. So before we move on, we can see we have 4 questions within our quiz, and this is becoming a little cumbersome to scroll through everything. We can't quite get a good feel for the questions which are placed within our quiz. So I just want to let you know we now have the ability to compact the questions. If we go over to the right-hand side of our screen here, we can simply click that option, and now we just see the question itself without all of the other options. So that's really helpful if you need to move these questions around, say drag and drop them, or reorder, delete them. You can select that option, do what you need to do, and then expand them again so that you can see the details if you need to. Now, one thing I do want to point out before moving on is if we scroll back up to the top of our screen within the Manage Questions tab here, we can see that this quiz contains questions that need manual grading. So we've included an open-ended question, and we've included a file upload question. And WP Courseware cannot automatically grade those as it does with multiple choice, which has a set correct answer, and true-false, which also has a set correct answer. So within the gradebook, which we'll go over shortly, you're going to be required to manually score either of those 2 question types before the student can receive a grade and progress to the next unit. So a new feature that we're really excited about in WP Courseware version 3.0 and forward is that we now have a question pool. So anytime you save a quiz question, it's dumped into a pool which can be recycled, reused later. And it can also be used for randomized question display. So let's go ahead and take a look at the question pool. If we go over to the Training Courses tab and go down to Question Pool on the left-hand side of our WordPress admin screen, we can click on that, and you'll see that now every question that we've created within any WP Courseware quiz is saved here. First, we can filter by tags. So if we needed to only view questions associated with a certain tag, we can do that. We can search our quiz questions if we need to find something with a specific term. We can do that there. We have the ability to sort by question ID, the question itself, or the question type. So we could select one of these and suddenly we have everything sorted by multiple choice, open-ended, etc. Next, we have a field which tells us how many quizzes this question is currently associated with, and you might have manually placed that question within a quiz, or it's part of a random selection based on its tag, but we'll talk about that shortly again. Next, we have the tag itself. You can delete that here if you need to, but it will display. We have the ability to edit the question straight from within the question pool, and if you edit a question from within the question pool, it's going to be globally updated with any of the associated quizzes. So keep in mind that if you edit a question here and it's part of 2 or 3 quizzes, it's going to change globally. Next, we have the ability to delete this question. We can simply click delete and it's gone. So let's scroll on down to the bottom of the screen. This is probably the most important part of the question pool. We have bulk actions for tags. So we can select all of our tags. We can select 1 or 2 or more. And with those questions, we can either add a tag to all of them. So say we want to add tags to every single one of our questions. We could add tag A to everything. And we could click update. And as you can see, now tag A is part of every single question. Next, we have the ability to remove a tag from every single question, or 1 or more. So we could do that here. Finally, we have an option to replace all instances of a tag. So let's say we now want all instances of tag A to be replaced with tag D. We can update that. And now every place that tag A was originally associated with a question, it's now tag D. So those are some bulk options so that you can, once you get your questions into the question pool, you can manually update your tags for sorting, for randomization when you place randomized quiz questions. Keep in mind, you do need to manually add this tag from within the question itself. You can't add a tag from the question pool screen. You'll need to do that from Question Edition. So if you need a new tag and you want that to show up under these bulk options here, you need to add a tag to a question first, and then it will display for selection within this screen. Now that we've covered the basics of the question pool, I just want to go back and show you the last 2 question tools which we have not covered in the quiz editing screen to add questions to your quiz. So I'm going to scroll back up, and under the Training Courses tab, we can see we have a quiz summary option. So I'll click on that. And now we have a listing of all of the quizzes that we've created within any of our WP Courseware courses. These are listed by ID, quiz title. We can see the associated unit. So basically any unit that these quizzes or surveys have been placed within. We're going to go over how to place a quiz within a course unit in just a moment. We can see the quiz type. Obviously, this is blocking with a minimum pass mark of 50%. We've chosen to show answers to our students. We've chosen pagination for our quiz questions. We can see the number of questions. And of course, we can edit this quiz from the quiz summary screen and delete that quiz. You also have the ability to search through your quizzes at the top of the screen if you need to find something specific. But for now, I'm just going to go into Edit for blocking quiz 1, the quiz that we just created. I'm going to go back over to Manage Questions. And now we can see that we have these options to add questions from pool and add random questions. First, I'm going to go over adding questions from the question pool. If we click on this option, we're presented with a listing of all of the questions within our question pool. And we can see at the top, we can filter this by tag if we need to be able to select questions which are only associated with a certain tag. We can search through the questions in the top of the screen if we need to find a specific question. But most importantly, we have a listing of all of our questions here. We could simply click Add to Quiz, and we can manually add questions into our new quiz. So say you had questions from a previous quiz that you want to add to the new quiz, you can just click this button. They're going to be dropped right into your new quiz. So we'll close that out. Next, we're going to get over to the Add Random Questions screen. We'll click on that. Now we can see that we have a couple of options for randomly adding questions to our quiz from our question pool. First, we can randomly select from the entire question pool, and this is basically adding randomized questions regardless of the tag associated with those questions. This will choose, for example, at this point, 10 questions from our entire question pool, and those will be chosen regardless of the tag associated with them. We can go down to randomly select questions using tags, and what we can do here is select a certain number of questions from each tag. So by default, we have 10. Question A, we could add another question, or tag B, excuse me. So we can add as many selections from tags as we need to, and then we can delete those as well. So right now we have one question from tag A, one question from tag B. If we clicked Insert Random Question Selection, then we would see a box which displays showing this quiz now shows one question from tag A and tag B. Now, when it comes to randomization, if a question is tagged with multiple tags, they will not be duplicated. So if a question had both tag A and tag B, they would be chosen for one and not the other. That's going to be the case when you use randomized question selection. So I'm just going to delete that for now. So now we have simply 4 questions within our quiz, one from each question type. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here, just save this again. Now what we need to do is place this quiz within our WP Courseware course. So if I go over to Training Courses in the left-hand side of the screen, I can go to Modules, Units, and Quiz Ordering. And I can see if I look under the Unassigned Quizzes option here, if I scroll down to the bottom, I have my blocking quiz, which I just created. So what I'm going to do is just drag this one out. And you can see I have a course created with various modules and units. And what I can do is take our blocking quiz and simply place it within the first unit of our course. Green indicates the module, purple indicates the unit, and red indicates the quizzes and surveys. So you can see I've been prompted to save my changes. I can do that. And now when I visit the first unit within this particular course, I'll be presented at the end of that unit content with this blocking quiz. So I'm going to flip over to the front end and take this as a student and show you how it looks. Now I've navigated to the front end of our WordPress site. I've located the course unit in which we placed our new blocking quiz. And if I scroll down to the bottom of that course unit content, I can see a box down here with our quiz. I can see the quiz title, which is Blocking Quiz 1. I can see the required passing mark, which is 50%. We have 4 questions within this quiz, so it tells us we need to correctly answer at least 2 of the 4 of these questions to progress to the next unit. After that, I have set a time, a maximum amount of time for this quiz. I've set this to 3 minutes, so we can see that message here. And if we click Begin Quiz, then we're going to be taken into the quiz and the timer is going to start. So let's go ahead and do that now. And once the quiz starts, we see that we've chosen pagination. So we're taken through one question at a time instead of being presented with all of the questions in one listing. We can see that we are on question 1 of 4. Over here, we have our timer going because we allowed 3 minutes for this quiz. Next, we have the question itself. This first question is a multiple choice question type. So you can see that we can select one of our options here. We have the hint that we included when we set up this question. And again, that's going to display to the student on the front end during the quiz. We have the ability to answer later, so they could skip this question. Your student could skip this question and move forward without answering it. And what that's going to do is cycle it back through. So if they skip question 1 and 5 out of 20 questions, once they answer question 20, they're going to be brought back to question 1, then question 5. So they can skip questions. You can see that we have a save and next question button. If we choose an answer and click that, since we've chosen to allow navigation to previous questions, we also have that option. If you disable the navigation to previous questions in your quiz settings, that's going to go away. They'll simply be able to move on to the next question, and they'll be required to answer them as they move through them. So I'm just going to go through and answer all of our questions here. So I have answered all of the questions within our quiz and clicked Save and Review. And again, because we did choose to allow students to review their answers before submitting them, they are presented with that message as well as an editable list of all questions within this quiz. You can see the timer is still running during the review process, so it will keep running as they review their answers. Again, they'll see the message, this is a blocking quiz, so they'll see that message that they need at least a 50% passing score to move on to the next unit. We can scroll down and see our multiple choice question type along with the hint, our true false question as number 2. Question 3 was our open-ended question type. So we've typed in an answer there. And again, we can edit any of the answers from within the quiz review screen here. Finally, we had a file upload question type. So we have uploaded a .txt file to meet the requirements for this question. We could change that file. If we wanted to upload a different file, we could do that straight from within the answer review screen here. But at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and click Submit Answers, and you'll see that these are submitted. We receive a message at the top of our screen stating that this quiz has been submitted for grading by the course instructor. It does require manual grading by the instructor before the student can receive a score and pass on to the next unit, because it includes an open-ended question as well as a file upload question. If this quiz happened to include only multiple choice and true-false question types, it would be graded automatically by WP Courseware, and the student would be able to progress to the next unit if they receive that passing score. At the moment, you can see that if we click on next unit, we are required to complete the previous unit first, and that's going to require that this quiz be graded by the instructor. So I'm going to flip back over to the back end. And as the course instructor, if we log back into the WordPress admin dashboard and we hover over training courses, we can see that we have an orange badge with a 1 that pops up next to training courses. What this indicates is that one of your courses has one quiz which is currently pending manual grading by the instructor. So if we click on that, we'll see again a message within the training courses listing that this course has one quiz that requires manual grading. What we would next do is access the gradebook for this course. And within the gradebook screen, we can see our students as well as their progress throughout the course. We see there is a manual grade required red notice which hyperlinks to this student's quiz. So we can click on that. We can see that the status of this grade, of this quiz, it's awaiting final grading. We have 2 questions which need to be graded. If we scroll down, we will see that we do not have a grade in for the open-ended question, so we could select one there. We also have the file upload question. We could review the student's assignment or the file that they uploaded and then go back to their quiz and assign a score for that question. So I'm just going to save changes to the grades for this quiz. Now we see a message that the user has passed this quiz and the associated unit has been marked as complete. Now when the student returns to the unit within which we placed this particular quiz, we see that the unit is now marked as complete. We have information regarding our score. Our grade was 100% with a required passing grade of 50%, so we have passed this quiz and completed the unit. Next we have our tag results, our question results by each tag. You can see that we have 100% for each of these. With a question that is multiple choice, or with a tag that only relates to multiple choice and true-false questions, you will get a count of correct questions answered out of the total correct question, or total questions for that tag. If it includes an open-ended or a file upload question type with that tag, then the percentage score is all that's provided. We can see our completion time out of the allowed completion time. Next, we have one of the custom feedback messages that we created. Great job on tag A. We set up a custom feedback message to trigger above 50% for tag A. So we received that custom feedback message. We can then see our questions and answers for each of these. We have the question itself. We chose in the settings to mark correct or incorrect. We chose to display the student's answer, the correct answer, and the explanation. So we can scroll down and review those. We did choose to leave these results available for later viewing, so the student could always move on to the next unit and then return to that unit, and the quiz results would be left available for them to review later. Finally, we have the ability to download these results in PDF format. So we have a button here to do that. And if we click on that, the student is taken to a PDF report, which mirrors all of the information that we chose to display for the quiz results on the front end of our website. So this could be saved or printed out for review later. Just another helpful feature for your students. This student will also receive a quiz grade notification email from their instructor with all of the information that was included in their results, and that is covered in the course settings video and how to set up a WP Courseware course. Your email templates for quiz notifications are set up in the training course settings. I can just quickly flip over and show you where that's located. Under training courses, if we go into our training course and we edit our course settings, we will see that we have an email notifications quiz grades tab. And if we click on that, we can configure a custom email to go out to our students as their quizzes are scored. And over on the right-hand side of our screen, we have the available template tags, which we could include within these emails. So again, that's covered in the course settings video, but just wanted to show you that quickly. And finally, as the instructor, you can always return to the gradebook for each of your training courses. You can go to the training courses listing screen, access the gradebook. You can see a report of the current progress and cumulative grade for each of your students. You can see the score for each individual quiz. You can go into that quiz. You can see the individual results for that quiz. If we go back to the gradebook, we can also see if a final grade has been sent. You can send final grades by clicking the email final grade tab. Again, that's covered. The setup of that is covered in the course settings video. But what this will do is look for any student who has completed all of the quizzes in the course, and you can email them a final grade. It will look for anyone who has completed all quizzes since the last time this email final grades button was selected. Once that is selected, the email is sent out to the student, and they will be marked as having received a grade in the grade sent field. They will not receive a duplicate email in the future, only students who have not yet received a final grade. So that's it. I think we've covered quite a bit of material here on how to set up a blocking quiz within WP Courseware. Let us know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.